Welcome to Turbo Training Fitness Center. Thank you for all being here. I'm Kent Paul, the owner here at Turbo Training Fitness Center, and this is Heather, as most of you know, and our top female trainer here. So we're really excited about doing a presentation for you guys, and it's all about the real woman. I like that. I like saying phase training for the real woman. And who in here does not have that special time of the month?
Yeah.
We're all here for that. Not me. You guys are all here for that reason. I hope not me. We're all here for that reason except me. Yeah, I get a little PMSy here and there, you know. Ask my guys, right? I do, that kind of thing. So yeah, this is really some breakthrough information that we're really excited to share with you guys about really to break down the components, as Heather will explain, the first 14 days of the menstrual cycle, the second 14 days of the menstrual cycle, and ovulation, how it all works, and really the science of what should be eaten by the woman in those phases. How should you exercise? What should you exercise? How should you eat? And this really is going to be a breakdown science, what Heather has presented for you guys. So she has created this. She has found this. She's researched this. She assesses this. This is really some breakthrough information for that. But before I kind of turn it over to her to really kind of break this whole new information down for you, I just kind of wanted to kind of explain a little bit about the base metabolism of foods. Just take me a few seconds here, because I want you to absorb this information before we really get into this unique topic of phase training for the real woman around your menstrual cycle. So I just want to explain something quickly about what I call the bell curve metabolism. Again, it will only take me a few minutes. Some of you in here have actually heard me talk about the bell curve metabolism. So I kind of give a visual of the bell curve from here. So this is all based around the height of day and rotation of night. So this is actually my sun. I'm not a really good artist. Beaming sun. Coming out with a sleep cycle from here, going back to bed here. So hopefully, some of you guys are hopefully not sleeping too late. Let's just call this somewhere around 6 a.m. Hopefully, okay? Over here, we'll call this 10 p.m. We will call this anywhere between 12 to 2 p.m. So this is here obviously is the height of the day. The normal cycle of the sun is usually at the highest point in the sky around that 12 to 2 p.m. I would probably all agree on that. So we are built around, as human beings, that we must sleep to survive. We must eat to survive. We must drink fluids to survive. Must have shelter to survive. And some love in there, they say. Okay. So this being the fact of rotation of the day, the sun comes up, the sun comes down, the height of the day. There's reasons and science behind the way our metabolism works and fires. So far, does that make sense? Right? So wouldn't it also make sense that our bodies can absorb certain types of foods different times of the day? We would burn certain types of calories certain time of the day. So therefore, we should really understand what we should be eating and shouldn't be eating, and what the sensitivities levels are. Coming out of a sleep cycle of starvation, haven't eaten, sleeping all night, of what can be sensitivity. We are allowed to have some carbohydrates, some fruits, even some grains. And the height of the day, around that 12 or 2 o'clock midday, is when your body can tolerate, if you will, the largest quantity of foods, the higher calories of foods, and what's called the higher glycemic type carbohydrates. What that means is even some simple carbohydrates like fruits, or even if you're going to have a cheat meal. We all kind of have some cheat meals. If you're going to have a cheat meal, hope you guys all know what I'm referring to, it's better to have that in the height of the day, because your metabolism is at its highest point at the midday. Then as you go into a sleep cycle, come into this phase, obviously your body is trying to reprogram itself and set itself up to go into sedentary sleep state. So if that's true, obviously when you go down into, let's just say 3 p.m., 5 p.m., when you start going down the slide of the bell curve into programming of night, of sleep, your body starts to preserve and become more sensitive to different types of foods. This is why, again, the grains and starch and fruits are allowed here. As we go down to here, we must pull away carbohydrates and just have your meat proteins and your vegetables and fats only going into a sleep cycle state. Your body becomes very, very sensitive after about 4 o'clock.
You just don't have time after that point to burn off the carbohydrates. Okay?
And your metabolism actually starts to slow down because it's preparing to go back into its sleep cycle. Does that make sense so far? But what do all of Americans do? Oh, hurry, hurry, get the kids ready. Got to get out the door. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe grab some coffee and a bagel. Maybe have, a restaurant for food here. Maybe. And by going down to this time, guess what? We are starving. Are we not all starving? And when do we all say, oh, I want to reward myself, had a heck of a day, the boss is crazy, the kids are yelling, my husband's whatever, and I'm going to eat because 1, I'm hungry, and 2, I deserve it, and I would want a bit of comfort. Even if you're not even consciously telling it to yourself you want to have some comfort foods, we do. So most of Americans, about 90% of Americans, eat 70% of their calories after 7 p.m. Did that make sense what I just said? That's a pretty powerful statement. There's a reason that we are the fattest nation in the world. This is what Heather and I are here to help educate and teach, to break out of these patterns. Not just our special topic of today, phase training, especially women, the menstrual cycle, but I want just to quickly go over this, that there is science on how we should eat, when we should eat as men and women, kind of from a baseline. So this is my example of bell curve metabolism from a baseline point. And then at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Heather, she's going to go into more exactly what this whole night's about. And that is phase training for the real woman around the menstrual cycle, coming from kind of from this point. Okay? So no further ado, our head female trainer, Turbo, Heather.
Thanks.
And she loves our microphone.
I was not happy about the fact that Kent decided to film this tonight. I can let you know that. It was like, you're what? No, you're not. Well, welcome. I'm really excited to have all you guys here, and I'm actually really excited about this program. I started thinking about working on this program. God, it's been over a year ago. I started kind of talking to Kent a little bit. Christian, our old trainer that used to work here, about developing some sort of program for women based on the menstrual cycle. And then, of course, most of you guys know, I think all of you know that I suffered a stroke, so that kind of got put on the back burner for some time. And then I finally was like, I'm going to start the research on this and do it. And I'm really excited because I found some really awesome information, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So maybe one of you or 2 of you or 3 of you will decide that you want to be my guinea pigs with this program. So basically, is everybody pretty regular on their cycle every 28 days or so? Okay, so this program is based on somebody who has a pretty regular cycle, no, diabetes or anything like that, okay? So we're just gonna draw a little diagram to kind of help you guys out, okay? Here's your period, okay? First day of your period is right here. Okay, first phase of your period is day 1 to 14. That's the follicular phase, okay? Then you're gonna ovulate right here, okay? That usually takes place in the middle of your cycle. Okay, and then menses happens over here. So second phase of your cycle, the luteal cycle, or the phase rather, is day 14 to 28.
Heather, can you say those terms again slowly and loudly?
Sure. The follicular cycle is day 1 to 14. It's phase 1. Okay. The luteal cycle or phase is the second phase of your cycle, and that's day 14 to 28. Okay, so basically is what we need to know is, as women, what happens to our hormones at this point, right? So the first day of your period, we'll say that's day 1, okay? Your proestrogen and your estrogen levels drop, okay? Slowly throughout the month, those hormones are gonna start to raise, up, 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 up. You ovulate, okay? And then immediately, those are going to start to raise, continue to raise, all the way through until you menses on the last day of your cycle, day 28, okay? So through the last part of your cycle, proestrogen and estrogen levels are at their peak, okay? So basically, your body is set up to be much like a man at the very beginning of your cycle, starting on the first day of your period. So what that means for you guys is that means as women, we need to take advantage of that time, okay? So we're going to recover faster from exercise, okay? We're gonna be in a fat burning zone during that time. So you're gonna be burning actually more fat days 1 to 14. So even though you feel crappy the first day of your period, right? Everybody's like, seriously, you're asking us to push harder during that time? That's exactly what you wanna do. And And I don't know about you guys, but I'm very in tune with my body. So as soon as I start my period, I can tell it totally, the hormones shift, like immediately it happens, okay? I'm like emotional, bitchy, I have all these sugar cravings here. I really don't even want to face the world. Boom, I start my period and I feel better, okay? Generally. So I want you, even if nothing else, over the next 30 days, I want you to just really pay attention to your body and what happens to you on a hormonal level. So during this time, because you're in a fat burning zone, you need to eat a certain way and you need to exercise a certain way, okay? Then you're gonna ovulate and those hormones change, right? Proestrogen and estrogen are gonna spike during that time. So you feel tired, you feel emotional, you feel cranky. So during that time, you shift from burning fat to burning sugar. So what happens is you actually need to switch out your workout regimen and your diet during that time, okay? The reason why you're burning sugar during this time is because your uterus is getting ready to carry a baby, okay? So you're metabolically set up to do something completely different than you are at the beginning of your cycle. Because you're more set up to be like a man during days 1 to 14, you can push a little harder at the gym, lift a little heavier, and you're gonna burn more fat, okay? So what we wanna do with the program during this time is you get a little bit more carbohydrates because you can handle it, your system can handle it, and you're gonna push a little bit harder, lift a little bit heavier during this time, and then moderate cardio, okay? So what that means is you wanna do steady state 40 to 60 minutes, 5 to 6 days a week. In a fasted state, Kent and I would prefer you doing that. Now that doesn't always have to be in a fasted state, but that's where you're gonna get the best results. And what that means is when you first wake up in the morning on an empty stomach, okay? So you go straight into that fat burning zone, okay? Then you ovulate, and during ovulation you actually have to be very careful with what you do during this time as far as any sort of plyometric work, jumping, things like that. And the reason why that is because you have some problems with well, first of all, your estrogen levels are so high that the collagen during that time is a little bit compromised. So you're more prone to having knee injuries, ACL injuries during time of ovulation. So all about paying attention to that, right? So during ovulation, you really need to be careful not to be jumping around and doing things like that, okay? And then, second phase of your period, when proestrogen, estrogen levels start to rise, you start to burn sugar during that time, you need to pull your carbohydrates way back. You shouldn't be eating a lot of sugars during that time or a lot of starches because those turn into, obviously, sugar. Starches turn into sugars pretty fast. They're high on the glycemic index scale. So it's going to cause you to what during that time? The more sugar you eat, the more sugar you're gonna crave, right? That is why we always crave, what do you guys crave? Fattening foods, okay? Carbohydrates, white carbohydrates typically. Hey, welcome. I know for me, it's like white bread, chocolate, cake. I mean, I could give you a whole list. I'm not gonna bore you with all my period cravings, but I mean, you get the gist, right? So the more of that you eat, the more you're gonna crave. That's totally normal. So that's why you need to totally stay away from that stuff, the second phase of your cycle, because it's just like the ugly green monster. The more you have, the more you want, okay? So you pull those carbohydrates back a little bit, and then during that time is what we're gonna do is you're gonna change your training style. So we're gonna be doing more boot camp style training, circuit style training, get that heart rate elevated over and over again. That, and then you're gonna push it a little bit harder, you know, during your cardio during that time. So interval training is what we would suggest, okay? So because you're burning sugar, you wanna try to get into that fat burning zone. You wanna take advantage of your post-oxygen consumption levels during that time by, you know, doing those interval trainings. So your EPOC, the afterburn effect. I don't know if any of you guys have heard about the afterburn effect, right? When you spike, you're training your different thresholds, okay? Your anaerobic and your aerobic thresholds by spiking that heart rate as high as you can and then recovering, spiking it and recovering by doing interval work, right? And so what that does is it pretty much is the same thing as like if you would do a really heavy weight session in the gym, you get that afterburn effect where you're burning more calories throughout the day, okay? So that's where you really want to take advantage of this, okay? So the way we have our program set up is days 1 through 14, you would be working with a personal trainer 4 days a week, okay? You'd get a cardio program and a diet program. And for the first part, and I'll pass this around so you guys can kind of look at the outline. Now on this outline, it gives you kind of a, I broke it down into layman's terms for you guys. This is more scientific, okay? Macronutrient breakdown, what I did with the training, what happens to your metabolic rate during your period, okay? So you guys can just kind of pass those around. And with this, and I have another, I'm not sure what I did with it, another one laying around here. At the very back of this, you'll see just a very general diet plan. Now, I did these macronutrient breakdown this is based on somebody who weighs 150 pounds, which most women, the general woman, 150 pounds, 25% body fat, okay? Based on a 1,200 calorie diet a day, okay? So it kind of just gives you an overview on what the diet looks like through phase 1 and phase 2, okay? So you guys can kind of just pass that around. So the first phase, phase 1, while those proestrogen and estrogen levels have taken a dump there, okay? So what happens is you can handle a little bit more carbohydrates. So the macronutrient breakdown's a little bit different. You get 40% from proteins, okay? Proteins are always most important, okay? 30% from carbohydrates and 30% from fats. Then during phase 2, when those estrogen and proestrogen levels start to spike, okay, you're gonna pull those carbohydrates back. So we're pulling the carbohydrates back, still 40% of your diet's from protein being the most important, only 20% from carbohydrates during that time, and 40% from fats, okay? So fats kind of come up, carbohydrates come down, okay? I'm gonna kind of open up the floor to some Q&A. Do you guys have any questions at all?
Is there a prediction of what our energy level is, the first half versus the second half?
Yes, absolutely. It's not a prediction, it's actually scientific. Because of these hormones, these are the female hormones, proestrogen and estrogen, because they have dropped, you're actually gonna have more energy day 1 of your period, and that follows all the way through day 14, okay? Energy levels start to drop after you ovulate. Those hormones start to go up, you start to feel crummy. Okay, all the way through, PMS happens, and then menses happens on day 28, okay? So the way we have set up the program here at Turbo Training is that we are offering an entire program based on this for women, okay? So you would be working with one of us during the first 14 days, one-on-one sessions. You'd get your diet plan. Now the diet that I have there is very generic. It's based on somebody who weighs 150 pounds, right? But it would be set up specifically to you, your body fat, your height, your weight, okay? Your likes, your dislikes when it comes to food. And then what would happen, we'd be really careful during this time of ovulation, okay? Because you're obviously more prone to injury during that time. And then day 14 to 28, you're gonna get a different diet. And your training's gonna change. You're gonna be doing boot camp during that time, interval training during that time. So you'll go from working from one-on-one sessions to boot camp style sessions. That's why Turbo is set up perfectly to do a program like this, because we offer both, okay? Still doing your cardio, and then of course your diet changes as well. Oh, another fun fact that I didn't actually add, during the week of your period, you burn up to 359 more calories during that time. So if you stay on a calorically deficient diet and you stay on your program, you can burn or lose like 1/2 pound during the week of your period. Okay, that's day 1 to day 7.
Typically feel like you're...
When you typically feel, yeah. Now usually, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I always feel bloated up until about the 2nd day of my period. So I'm really bloated, and then it kind of takes a little while for those hormones to kind of regulate. Then I start to feel okay. Pretty crummy the first few days. Now that is usually when women feel horrible, and usually women don't want to train during the first few days of their period. So I'm telling you guys, the research shows you need to do the opposite, okay? As soon as your period starts, you push through and you push harder during that time, okay? During PMS, yeah, you're gonna feel crummy. And I can tell you, like, I'm in the 2nd stage of my cycle right now. Do you think I like to interval train? Hell no. But obviously, I'm going to do this program because it's my program. I designed this program. I built this program. It's my baby, so obviously I'm going to do that. So yeah, the last few days, I've been getting up, doing my interval training. Not fun. I have no energy for it. I feel like crap. I'm starting to feel emotional and cranky, and yeah, running sprints, not a good time. But I'm doing it because the research shows that's what works, right? Okay, and I've also been paying attention. Now, you guys know what a stickler I am with my own diet, but for me, I eat the same thing every day, day in, day out, forever, or for as long as I can remember. But I have been kind of switching things up a little bit, right? So the beginning of the month, I pulled my carbohydrates up, which for me is like a big deal because you guys know, like I'm a stickler about my diet here, and I've tried to, pull my fats up a little bit. Carbohydrates have gone down. I feel pretty good, all things considering. I think it helps with your cravings as well. Stay away from the sugar, stay away from the starches, and you're gonna notice that you're not gonna have those overwhelming cravings for chocolate and sugar during that time, okay? Kent, do you have anything to add at all?
Can you explain a little bit to the ladies your definition on interval training?
Sure. I can tell you what I do for interval training. Well, everybody, I know you're on an interval training program right now too. For me, basically, is what I do is I get on and warm up for 5 minutes at a moderate pace. I do all my intervals either on the stairs or the treadmill. I'll just give you a perfect example on the treadmill. So I'm gonna warm up, okay, and then I usually warm up 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna spike my heart rate. I'm gonna run as fast as I can, like all out sprint for 30 seconds, okay? Like to the point where I feel like, you feel like somebody's chasing you with a gun. You have to run that fast where you feel like your legs are gonna fall off. You're gonna slide off the treadmill. It's that crazy. But you literally wanna take your heart rate from like 130 to like 170. Okay, so I use a heart rate monitor so I can, especially because I have, because I've had a stroke, I need to really watch my blood pressure, right? So I need to wear that heart rate monitor. So I go from 130, spike it all the way up to 170. You literally feel like you're gonna pass out. You have to jump off the thing, okay? Put it back down. I usually spend, a couple minutes recovering because you want your heart rate to totally recover, and then I spike it again. Back up to 170. Now I'll do that until I get to about a half an hour. And it's intense, it's really intense. It's hard work. It's not easy, but it's effective. It's really effective because you're taking advantage of that afterburn. So you're gonna burn more calories throughout the day by doing that. It boosts your metabolism.
Cardio in the morning, you'll do that, the interval cardio in the morning, or no?
I won't do that fasted. It's too intense, yeah. Now, when I'm just doing moderate, like steady state cardio, list cardio, where I'm just doing, hey, how are you? Where I'm just doing the same pace, then I'll do that fasted. Absolutely, yeah. Tomorrow morning, I'll probably go and I'll maybe have a whey shake or something if I decide that I want to run sprints. You don't want to do that intense of a cardio session without having something to protect your muscles. At least that would be my suggestion, because you could really throw yourself into a catabolic state. And then, for me, I know over the course of the last, 3 years, what it's taken for me to put on the muscle that I've put on, because I'm just a hard gainer, I won't do anything to compromise that. And that is too big of a risk as far as I'm concerned, if you care about, your muscle. And I just do a little bit too much, which you guys know because I weight train a lot, right? So I don't want to do anything to compromise that, throw myself into a catabolic state.
Camp will do our interval for us, yeah?
No, you would want to do the boot camp, and then you'd want to do interval training on top of that. So your style of training is going to change during the second phase of your period to both interval training and then circuit training on top of that. Okay. During this time, you're going to be lifting heavier in the gym, doing one-on-one sessions, and then steady state cardio. Fasted if you can. I know that doesn't work for everybody's work schedules. You guys hear me bitch all the time about how I'm like 3 o'clock in the morning, here I come. That's why I told you I'm not going to keep you too long, right? Because 7:30 rolls around and it's totally my bedtime, right? Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
How long have you been doing it, or did you start doing the program yourself?
Yeah, it's my program. So I started about 6 weeks ago.
Have you noticed a difference in yourself doing it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I feel really good. Okay, so like I said, like making sure that I'm pulling my carbohydrates back before my period starts is making a huge difference for me on the way I feel emotionally and with my cravings and everything. So I've noticed a difference for sure. I think it's a really solid program. I'm really excited about it. Anything else?
What's some examples about protein? Give them examples specifically. What types of proteins have you used to get really good results?
For me, I use whey protein. Okay, lean protein, chicken. I use a lot of chicken. You can use even red meats. I don't know if, some people don't like red meats, but I'll use like flank steak or sirloin steak. Buffalo is another one that I really like. You can do lean ground turkey. Anything else? Do you have any good suggestions?
Boy, don't get the almighty egg
You
white.
know he likes.
Oh, the egg white, of course. God, how could I forget that? And fish. I'm not a huge fish person. I like salmon, but of course that's not going to be as lean. You're going to still get, your good fats from salmon, but it is more fattening. I know he's all about the whitefish, the tilapia, the cod, stuff like that. I'm not really a huge fish person. I do shrimp. I like shrimp. In fact, we pulled out cod from our freezer. I think it's been in there for like the last 3 months. And my husband's like, we really need to cook this, and I could smell it just even coming out of the freezer. I just was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. Egg whites. I eat tons of egg whites. I eat a cup of egg whites just for breakfast alone, and then a lot of times before I go to bed too. It's fantastic. Mix it with your veggies.
Examples of good carbohydrates.
Complex carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates for the female body during the cycles.
Okay, so during the first part of your cycle, and the cool thing about the program that I've developed is that I'm actually really into nutrient timing, which I think is some of you guys know that. So based around your workouts and kind of what Kent talked about with the bell curve, where you should place what foods. Like, for instance, you would place, your fruits only after you work out, okay? Maybe sometimes first thing in the morning, but basically you'd get your fruits to help with recovery because of the fructose. The sugar is going to give you a little bit of an insulin spike, which is going to help that protein into your muscles, right? And it's going to help you recover a little bit faster. So, during the first phase of your cycle, you can have fruits, definitely. You can do whole grains, whole wheat tortillas, Ezekiel bread, brown rice. God, there's so many options. Yams, sweet potatoes. Am I forgetting any big ones? I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting any. Oh, of course. God, why am I skipping breakfast? This is the most important meal of the day. It's my favorite meal of the day, oatmeal. Use oatmeal all the time, right? We use oatmeal like it's going out of style in our house. And you can even throw like oatmeal and whey protein and peanut butter and blend it up, and it's like a delicious shake. It's awesome. So on the go, easy breakfast, easy lunch, okay? During the second phase of your cycle, you're going to really watch. You want to pull away any potatoes, okay? So you can still do like red potatoes over here, but not over here. You want to pull the starches. You want to pull the fruits, anything like that, okay? Really watch any sort of sugars or starches during that time. So you still get the whole grains though. Oatmeal, still a great option. Brown rice, fantastic. Ezekiel bread, whole wheat tortillas. I think most of you guys know the difference between a simple carbohydrate and a complex carbohydrate, yeah? Well, basically they're going to be slower digesting. They're higher in fiber. White carbohydrates. What happens to white carbohydrates? As soon as you put them in your body, they turn into sugar. So you might as well be eating white sugar, right? Okay, so any sort of complex carbohydrates is going to slowly digest in your system, okay? It's not going to turn into sugar as fast in your body. Do you want to come talk about a little bit more about the program? And
Yeah, go ahead. What's the next possible step if they did want to be a part of the program?
Oh yeah, so we are offering the program, guys, if anybody's interested, and I hope some of you guys will at least consider it. The entire program, let me tell you what it includes first of all, okay? So it's